Hello everyone and welcome back to More Wallflower. Today I'm going to quickly walk you through the 25 books I want to read in 2025. So let's start. First of all, next year is gonna be the year where I finish most of the series that I'm reading. At least that is the plan. So the first books that I want to read next year are The Fall of the School for Good and Evil, as well as the rest of the School for Good and Evil series. Here is the whole School for Good and Evil collection. So I've only read the first two. I've only read the first one in English and the second one I read in Portuguese. So I will want to reread everything. So reread the first one and the second one and then continue the series. So we have The School for Good and Evil, A World Without Princes, The Last Ever After, Quest for Glory, A Crystal of Time, and One True King. All by Soman Chainani. Boom! That's the first one. Then the second series I want to finish next year is the Caraval series. So I currently only have the first and the third book. I will be buying the second one and I will be rereading Caraval and then reading Legendary and Finale and possibly even Spectacular, and I'm planning to do that with Claudia as well. I'm gonna start by showing you my physical copies and then I'll talk about the ones that I don't have yet, but that I will probably read or get the ebook version. So, continuing with fantasy, I have two more fantasy books that I want to read next year, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I am very curious about this author. I've actually never read anything by them, so next year will be the year. And then I have V. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is one of the only ones that I'm missing from V. Schwab's collection, that I haven't read yet. So next year will be the year as well for Leigh Bardugo, for V. Schwab. Another fantasy that I will be reading next year is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is quite a controversial book, but I've had it for years and I'm honestly just curious to read it. So next year it will be the year. Still talking about the series that I plan to finish next year, I want to finish the Simon Snow series, which means I need to read Any Way the Wind Blows. This is by Rainbow Rowell, and I know it seems surprising that I haven't read this yet, but I just haven't. So next year for sure. It was supposed to be this year, but I didn't get to it, sadly. So we have a couple of books for the Crimea book series, and those are Crying in Age Mart by Michelle Zauner and Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. So these two I will be reading next year as well. And if there's a book that made you cry and you want to see me read, leave it down in the comments and I just might get to it next year as well, who knows. Then the last two physical copies that I have here with me are, what would I call these? I don't even know. I think one of them is Dark Academia, the other one is just Japanese fiction? Not sure. But we have Kafka on the Shore, which I have started this year, but I didn't manage to finish. So next year, for sure, I will be finishing this. And then we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a Dark Academia book from what I know, and I'm curious to read it as well. So those are all of the physical books that I have that I want to read next year, except for one more, which is Babel, that I don't have here with me, but it is in Portugal, and I have the physical copy as well. It's actually in Portuguese, which will be interesting for me because I'm not used to reading in Portuguese anymore. I usually always read in English, so we'll see how that's going to go. And then as for the rest of the list, I have it right here with me, and I'm gonna start putting the pictures there and looking down at my list because I don't know it by heart. So yeah, let's talk about the rest of the books that I want to read next year. So starting off, I want to continue reading Jennifer Saint's work, so I will be reading Atalanta and Hera, which will get its paperback book next year, I believe. So I will be reading those two next year. Another one that I want to read that is a little bit fantasy as well is Wicked. I went to see the movie this year and I knew about the musical, I'd heard the songs before, and I'm obsessed and I need to read the book. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to it next year, but at least that's the plan. Then another Greek mythology book that I will want to read next year is by B. Fitzgerald, and it's called The End Crowns All, and it is a sapphic love story between Cassandra and Ellen of Troy. That just sounds amazing. So I will be reading that next year as well. And I think that's it for fantasy. So now we only have 2 books left. So let's talk about them. We have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am so incredibly excited to read about this book. As soon as I saw the announcement about it, I will be pre-ordering. Not sure if right now or if when I come back from Portugal, not completely sure, but I want this book so bad. So I will be reading this next year. I think it comes out in the summer, so perfect. And then lastly, I want to start reading the Gilmore Girls biographies. So my plan for next year is to read Lauren Graham's biography, or possibly Kelly Bishop's. I'm not completely sure, but one of them I will be reading next year. I would say probably we'll start with Lauren. Those are all of the books that I'm planning to read next year. Those are 25 books for 2025. Let me know in the comments which 25 books you're planning to read if you want to. That's like a huge list, but if you want to do it, I would love to see it. And I will be seeing you on the next one. Bye!